So we've done all the pitchers. It's time to evaluate the rest of this Toronto Blue Jays lineup.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Blue Jays is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah, the right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com for your stay today. I'm Braden Iwasko. He's Dallin Wilton. And you can find us on Twitter, Braden5 Iwasko, Dallin Wilton, or on Instagram or TikTok at Locked On Blue Jays as well. Drop a subscription if you're new here on YouTube, as you know, you guys have been sort of killing it lately. Might as well keep up to date on all your Blue Jays knowledge with us. We try to get it to you as best we can. A little bit of a sort of whirlwind day today. I was sick. Didn't go to work, and then had some other things going on, and then we had our pipe burst in our apartment here. So an absolute crazy day. Carter's gone, as you all can see. So it's me and Dal rocking the show today. Dal, what's going on, man? How are you feeling?
Not much, Braden. Glad to be here once again. I always love coming on here, so thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, it'll be fun. We, Carter, this was a day Carter didn't want to miss, as we are doing the player evaluations, sort of just giving our grades on what we, expected out of some of these players at the beginning of this season. So that's sort of how we're doing these rankings. So some of them might seem a little weird if one guy's higher than the other, but the expectation might have been lower for that guy, and he's outperforming. So there's a lot to get into. We're pretty much going to do every player, what we think. And of course, just so you guys know, we are doing a huge trade deadline episode, or a couple episodes later on in the next coming weeks here. So pay attention for that. We are wanting to do a mailbag. So any questions you guys got, you can just tag it like mailbag or something, and then leave your comment. We'll answer it in the next few episodes here. Dal, I think, you know what? Let's get going with a guy who might be one of the most exciting players to watch on this team, and that's Spencer Horwitz. I know, we could go and say a ton about this guy, just in the fact that, everybody was sort of shocked. Everybody wasn't sure really what he was going to bring this season. And man, has he been just a great guy to watch on the field. He's played in 32 games, 121 plate appearances. He is batting .324 with an on-base percentage of .421. He's slugging .490 and has an OPS of .911. He's got 4 home runs on the year and 11 RBI. He struck out 17 times, 13 walks. Dal, there's just not enough good things to say about him. Before I give my grade, I'll throw it to you. Let us in. What have you thought of Spencer Horwitz so far?
Yeah, no, I've really liked what I've seen, and right now I think he's the best player on the Blue Jays. Smaller sample size than everyone else, but if this guy was on the team from the start of the season, there's no doubt in my mind he'd be in the All-Star game. And what I really like, too, is him on the defensive end, kind of. He made a few E's, but he's a natural first baseman, and he's playing two-bag mostly. So I think he's done pretty well there so far. But, it's just what we should have expected. He was raking in AAA, and now he's doing the same thing in the MLB, so it's great. And, I mean, if I had to give him a letter grade, I'd probably give him an A+.
A+ for Spencer Horwitz. You know what? I really like that, and I'm going to double down on you. I also went A+ because, like you said, this guy, maybe we should have expected this out of him, but it's so hard when you're talking about prospects in AA, AAA. You really don't know how it's going to translate to the big leagues. But man, has it translated well for him. We've done episodes on Spencer Horwitz, so there's lots of content if you guys want to go back and watch some of those. We did a whole Spencer Horwitz day. So go take a look at that. There's a ton of players here. We don't want to spend a crazy amount of time on specific guys because we do have a ton to get into. Dal, let's go with the guy who I think shocked everybody. A signing that me and Carter really disliked coming into this season, and that's Isiah Kiner-Falefa. We were not sure what this guy was going to bring to the team, why this signing happened. We thought, we have guys from AAA that can come and do what he can do. Maybe not as good of defensively, but we need the bats. We need the bats going. But to a pleasant surprise, IKF has been, again, very, very solid for this team. He has played in 82 games, 281 plate appearances. He's batting 292 with a 338 on base percentage. He is slugging 420. He's got an OPS of 758. He's got 7 home runs on the season. He has 33 RBIs, struck out 37 times, walked 13 times. He's got 3 stolen bases. Just a guy that I think has done everything that this club could have asked of him and more, honestly. I think that the fans really didn't care about his signing, didn't know how it was going to work out with this squad. And man, Dal, has it been good for IKF?
Yeah, and like you said before, I'm going to agree with you. I didn't like the signing when it first happened, also because he was a Yankee, and I hate the Yankees. But no, he's turned out really nice for us, and it sucks that he's out with injury, and he's going to miss some more time after the All-Star break, unfortunately. But he's a guy they could use right now. But he's so consistent. I like to say he's like a robot because you know what you're getting out of him. He's not changing. He does the same thing every time. So I think it was kind of a surprise to all of us how well he's done so far. And letter grade I'd give him would be probably a B+.
Okay, that's pretty much where I am. I went with an A. I was sort of going back and forth a little bit, but I did go with an A just because I think he's probably the guy that shocked me the most this season. Maybe, outside of Horwitz and a couple others, but it's probably because we didn't have, we didn't really know a whole lot about them going in. So I gave IKF an A. You give him a B+. I think they're both very. They make a lot of sense.
One or the other. It's close.
Yeah, it's right there. It's a did I give my all effort on that test or not? That's what it was. Dal, there's so many more guys we can go over here. I'll throw it to you. Pick a guy we can go over him.
Sure. Let's go with my least favorite player on the Blue Jays, Alejandro Kirk. What do you think of him?
Okay, that's Alejandro Kirk's an interesting guy. I don't think I gave him the worst grade on this team, but he could have been right up there. I'll go over Kirk's stats quickly. 52 games played, 185 plate appearances. Kirk is batting .234 with a .308 on-base percentage. He is slugging .323, an OPS of .631. He has 2 home runs on the year, and he has 24 RBIs with 26 strikeouts, 18 walks. Man, Kirk's a tough one for me. I mean, after looking at those stats, I don't think it was as bad as in my head of what he has played like. But because he's had a couple good stints, it's just it's nowhere near consistent. I mean, it's been pretty horrible. And on the defensive side of the ball, I think you know what you're going to get with Kirk. He's not going to be gunning a ton of guys out, but man, the way he frames the ball as just a catcher in the framing, he is so elite. And yeah, you want to see his bat more, and especially when Danny was going off. And, I sort of expected more of Danny as well. The way he started the season, I thought he was going to at least become, his career average. He's just not he's not figuring it out either. But when I look at Kirk, Dal, I went with a D. I did. I couldn't quite give him an F. I think there's other guys more deserving of an F. But I went with the D, and it's pretty close. It could have been right there.
Yeah, just reiterating what you said, you know exactly what you're getting behind the plate with him. I think he's got a great relationship with all the pitchers, and you can see that they love him too. Good frame jobs, he's good defensively, I'd say, but it's just not what we need from him on the bat side of things. Like, this was a guy who was an all-star a couple seasons ago and was known for contact, and now he's still getting a bit of contact, but that bat isn't there. Lately he's been a bit better. Like it seems like overnight he was batting 198, and now he's batting 234. But just from a guy who the Blue Jays, we trade Moreno because we think this is our guy, and he's not doing a lot for us right now. It's just really disappointing, and I'm gonna have to agree with you on a D grade there.
Yeah, I don't know. He's one of those guys that you sort of just think it was the blindness of that one season that he played really well, got an all-star. And then after that, I don't know. I don't know what the thought process necessarily was of choosing Kirk over Moreno, whatever way you want to look at it. I don't necessarily know what the thought process was, what went into that, but it's not looking like it's panning out for us too well. And I think at that time you could have traded Kirk, probably got the same deal, if not maybe better.
He would have had, I think, more trade value back then than he does now, for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know what? We're going to get into one more guy before we take a quick break here. Let us know if you guys agree with us, because we're saying all the stuff. We're looking at stats. We're looking using the eye test. I'm a big eye test guy. You can look at the stats all you want, but sometimes players just don't have the season that they want to, and the stats necessarily don't back that up. So, saying that, I think let's go with the big man himself, Mr. All-Star Game this year, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Dal, for me, Vlad is such a tough one, because I think at the very start of this season, I really was down on Vlad. I thought, oh my goodness, if Vlad, Bo, and Springer all aren't playing well, this team's done. And you know what? Vlad was a happy surprise. He came back. He was Vlad. He was the Vlad that we've sort of known. He's been able to pick up the long ball a little bit more lately, and driving in runs and getting on base. Vlad has just been that guy this year. He's been our best player, maybe debatably Spencer Horwitz, and IKF's in there too. But I think Vlad, for the superstar effect, Vlad is the closest that we have right now. Just going over his stats: 95 games played, 415 plate appearances, a batting average of 288, an on-base percentage of 359, slugging of 456, an OPS of 815. He's got 14 home runs on the season, 55 RBIs, 67 strikeouts, 39 walks, 2 stolen bases. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. does it all. I mean, yes, sometimes his defense isn't as immaculate as you want it to be, but for a first baseman and for a guy that you honestly just want his bat in the lineup, I think it's great. So I'm going with a B+ for Vladdy this season. Not necessarily, and maybe it's not outperforming my expectations, and this is the one where I was sort of taking a little bit of liberties on, because I think Vlad's played really well, and maybe we just haven't given him the props he deserved. Even though I thought he was going to do better this season, I thought it was going to be a comeback season. We did actually the Locked On MLB rankings of where the teams are and who we thought was going to go where. And I said, watch out for a bounce back season from Vlad. Obviously, it hasn't been on par with guys like Aaron Judge and, some of those guys. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think Vlad's played up to his ability, and I think he's got a lot more room to work with. He's still a young guy. I think he can really, start picking up some momentum from this year.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's really tough with Vladdy because, after that one big season he had, we really expect a lot out of him. He's competing with Ohtani for AL MVP. But, he's a great ball player. We expect as Jays fans so much out of him, like I just said, because of that 1 year. But you got to recognize, like, he's playing good baseball. He struggled, like you said, and he's making a comeback now. And it's good to see him kind of getting back into that form. It was nice to see him hitting some home runs for a bit, but he's driving in runs left and right. He's our best hitter on this team for sure. And to agree with you, I'd probably agree with you. Around a B, probably for me.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I found it really tough to put a lettering grade on Vlad. And I think he was the one that I did go back and forth with the most, because I just really wasn't sure. Because did he outperform my preseason sort of thoughts? I don't necessarily know that he did that, but I think overall, when he's the best player on this team, it's hard to just say that, to give him like a C+ or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully we can see more from Vlad in sort of the rest of this season. And I don't think he's going to get traded, so I think we'll get to see more and more of Vlad in the next few seasons as well. But we'll save that for another episode. Dal, we'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back with some more guys here in the second segment. Today's episode of Locked On Blue Jays is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for a winning championship is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Carter always tells some stories. He always tells the story about his minivan. He used to go pick up the guys. eBay Motors helped him out, just like it can help out some of you guys. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available for U.S. customers. Today's episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time, like I always say, the best app on my phone for buying tickets. I will never go anywhere else. They have their flash deals, zone deals, last minute deals. It's unbelievable. We went to Toronto. We got our tickets for that. We went to New York. We got our tickets for the Yanks game, the Mets game, all through Game Time. It is 100% what I would suggest anybody use. The best part for me is you can get to see the view from your seat. And when you do that, it was nice for us because we wanted to sit at 3 different sort of spots throughout the ballpark. And we wanted to make sure the seats we were sitting in were good. And of course, they were with Game Time. Like I said, they also have their all-in pricing. Toggling this feature shows you the upfront total with no surprise fees at checkout. Another huge component for me, as I want to know what we're paying. And if I'm buying tickets for all the boys to go down there, I want to know what everybody owes me quickly so that they can e-transfer me back. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON MLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Well, Dal, we've went over a lot of guys so far. And you know what? I should maybe have a pen and start crossing guys off the list. Maybe that's what I'll do here quick because, we go through it quick and there's a lot to talk about on a lot of these guys. And, I think the big thing is to take a little bit of a retrospective look at some of these players because you know what? At the end of the day, we had our expectations, and I think everybody in the world knows that our expectations didn't hit this season. It wasn't even close. It was just sad. But in saying that, Dal, looking at maybe a couple of guys that I am happy with, and one guy I really wanted to talk about, and I know Carter talks about this guy all the time, is Ernie Clement. Ernie Clement has been one of the bright spots for this team. I think he's a guy, again, that you didn't really necessarily know what to expect. He's played in 74 games this year already, Dal. 199 plate appearances, batting a .268, on-base percentage of .284, slugging of .437, an OPS of .721. He has 6 home runs on the season with 23 RBIs. He's striking out 15 times, 4 walks. He has 4 stolen bases as well. Ernie Clement has been one of the biggest surprises for me this season. And you know what? I've loved him so far. And I know that he, going into this year, I'm a huge Davis Schneider fan, and to see those two be boys, I mean, it's just great to see Ernie be able to, actually get some playing time that's probably well-deserved.
Yeah, it seems John Schneider likes to play him in spurts. I know there's injuries right now. That's why he's playing every day. But you go back to the start of the year, and then even, I can't remember exactly when it was, but it was in the middle of this first half, he was doing exceptionally well. And then all of a sudden he's not playing as much anymore. And this is a guy that I think you need to find a spot for him in the lineup, especially with how his bat is right now. And, he's one of the bright sides on this Blue Jays team this year. It's crazy to me that, you have a guy that doesn't have a ton of major league experience, but he's finding a way to contribute and finding a way to succeed, and you're not playing him, as much as he deserves. So I've liked what I've seen from Ernie. He's very solid defensively as well. I'm going to give him probably a B grade for myself.
Yeah, I like the B grade. And you're right. With the John Schneider thing, I mean, we talked about that to death. It's just the lineup decisions haven't been made. They've been made, and it happens, but it's too late. You pull Ernie out, he gets cold. He went on a little bit of a cold streak. He did pick it back up. But that's on John Schneider. You got to, when this guy's bat is hot, we always say ride the hot hand. You have to ride the hot hand. And Ernie Clement and Davis Schneider might be the two guys that have been hurt by that effect of John Schneider the most. In saying that, yes, I really like Ernie. Ernie's very weird in the field for me. I feel like he makes some errors, but then he'll make some really nice plays as well. So overall, I think, again, you want to take the bat first. You need to take the bat first. Overall, I'm going to give Ernie Clement a B-, I think, on the season.
Yeah.
I don't know, Dal. What's that? Sorry?
That's a good grade for him.
Oh, yeah, thanks. So I tried my best, snapping it around. Come on.
Yeah.
I'll give it to you. Who do you want next? Because we still got to get through.
Sure. Let's go over Red Turn 2 there, Justin Turner. I mean, I could speak a bit on him. I think we expected a lot more than what he's given us, given his season he had in Boston last year, which was pretty good for a 38-year-old, what he was last year. But like we've talked about before, he's more of a veteran presence for this team. Like I've said countless times, he's always talking to guys, always talking to the managers, everything. So from that aspect, it's a really good pickup for us. But offensively, I expected more myself. I thought he'd hit around probably 20, 25 home runs for us. I mean, that might have been out of left field, but I expected so much more given the season he had last year. So for me, I'm going to give him a C-.
Yeah, and I think that's a pretty fair grade. This is another one that I was sort of all over the map with. Just to go over JT stats: 80 games played, 310 plate appearances, 231 batting average, on base percentage of 335. Because he does make at bats long. He wears out pitchers, and that's what he's known for, and he does it really well. A slugging percentage of 345, not what you want to see. 680 OPS. He's got 5 home runs on the year with 29 RBIs. He's got 55 strikeouts and 37 walks. And yeah, Dal, I'm with you. I'm a C- on Justin Turner as well. Again, I expected more, but I think looking back, that's a little bit sort of ludicrous of me to think that he was going to be this unbelievable player. And so I can't take too much away from him because it's not horrible. He goes through really big spurts where he's really, really good. But then he'll hit that really, really cold streak right after. And you're thinking, I don't ever want to see this guy be on the field again. So it's sort of night and day with Justin Turner. And that's sort of what it feels like has been happening all this season. And he's sort of been like that all his career, where he goes really, really hot for a couple months and then he gets really, really cold. And then his averages start to average out, obviously. Justin Turner. I mean, again, not much to say on the guy. We've covered him a ton. Dal, there's one guy that I really want to get into, and I've waited probably this whole episode so far looking at his grade and being a little bit disappointed, and that's Davis Schneider. Davis Schneider this season, again, started out being sort of the heart of this team a little bit. He had all the fans. I think he still does, but obviously not playing up to where he was last year or coming into this season or, at the first part of this season. I really did want Davis to be so good, but it's hard to expect anything that great from him when, he should be a surrounding piece. He shouldn't have to be the face of your franchise. And that's what he sort of was trying, the role he was sort of thrust into at the beginning of this season, because the fans were all back and the jerseys were flying off the shelves. Everybody loved him, and good on him. He seems like a great human being. And I really like watching him. He's one of my favorite guys to watch still. 86 games played, 299 plate appearances, batting 217 with an on-base percentage of 311, slugging a 391, OPS of 702. He has 10 home runs on the year with 36 RBI. He's got 83 strikeouts, which is a big number for him. 33 walks as well, which is pretty solid for walks. But the strikeouts are something that really hurts Davis. Also 3 stolen bases. Yeah, he's sort of a strikeout or bust a little bit of a guy. He doesn't hold back on his swing. Every swing, it doesn't matter if it's a 2-strike count, if it's the first pitch of an at-bat, he's swinging to do damage. And sometimes that can hurt him. When he's not on, that hurts him because he is swinging out of his shoes, it looks like, at every pitch. But maybe that's the guy he had to be, because at the beginning of the season, he hit some game-winning home runs. He hit some huge home runs in some certain situations, huge RBIs in some situations. And so he thought that's how he would do damage. In a team looking for home runs, Davis Schneider was that guy at this beginning of this season, as he was able to pick up a few. At one point, I think he was second on the team in home runs. And so it was really nice to see, but he's fallen off as of late. Obviously, I didn't want to say as of late. It's been about half the season now that he's been not as good as you want him to be. Everybody had overblown expectations for Davis Schneider. It was just unattainable, myself included. And in saying that, I have to go with a C-. I don't think he's been horrible. He's been very good defensively in left field. I've been really, really happy with that. But you need the bat to get going, and I think it can. I think it will. But again, he's not a guy that I can put my hat on and be like, oh, he's going to hit this many home runs. It sort of feels like I don't know what I'm going to get a lot of the time with Davis Schneider. Yeah,
and you got to go back to last season too, or the hype around him. Of course, there's going to be a lot expected from him this season. But it's so there's so much pressure on him. I feel like from that, like you said, they looked at him for big production, and you got to, like, this is his first full year in the big leagues, and this was a guy who was ready to quit baseball 2 years ago. So he hasn't seen this kind of spotlight, and there's a lot of pressure on him, like I said, and he has came up in big moments early in the year, and he does have that pop. It'd be nice to see, the bat get going again for him. And I think it's like we said with Ernie Clement, it's you get hot and then John Schneider doesn't want to play anymore. So I believe Davis can turn it around. I think he's going to be a great ball player for years to come still. So I'm going to give him a C- as well.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. And a lot of these guys, I mean, you use your eyes a little bit, right, Dal? And you can sort of see, right? We're pretty close. Even on the ones we're different on, we're right there. And because I think that's what a lot of fans have their feelings as well. So let us know if you guys are sort of in the same ballpark as we are in again, like we said, the expectations going into this season compared to now. And this made me do a little bit of rethinking, and maybe how I'll approach next year is maybe don't have these overblown thoughts on some guys, or don't be too down on some guys because you never might know what's going to happen, like an IKF situation. Dow, we got let's do a couple more here before we take our third break and get into sort of the last few guys. I want to knock this one just sort of out of the park, and I didn't want to do this one at all, really, but we have to do it. And I know you know what guy's coming up here, and that's Kevin Kiermaier. It's been bad. He obviously the last couple of games since he got put on revocable waivers, and obviously nothing happened with that. He has been hitting better, but overall this season he has been abysmal, to say the least. It has been just terrible. 73 games played, 196 plate appearances, batting a 189, on base percentage of 234, slugging of 306, OPS of 540. He's got 4 home runs on the year with 18 RBIs. He's got 62 strikeouts, for goodness sakes, 10 walks, and 5 stolen bases. Kevin Kiermaier has been great defensively, but in saying that, the bat has been just terrible, Dal. It has been just horrible. And I think he's getting outshone, whatever, by Daulton Varsho in the field. So It's like this big defensive guy that you brought in is now getting outshined by Daulton Varsho. So my grade, I'll wait. I want to hear what you got to say, and then I'll wait for my grade. But
With all these guys, mostly it's going back to last season too. I think there was a quote he made where he wanted to be the best 9-hole hitter in the league last year, and he was good. I don't know the exact stats. Maybe I'll find those after the break and say them, but from last season. But he was great for us last season in that 9-hole. Obviously, you're not going to expect much from Kevin Kiermaier, and you can't to begin this season. But it's I didn't expect much, and it's lower than what I expected, his performance. And he's a guy, like I just said, you can't count on him for offense. He's mainly a defensive piece for sure. He's been great in the outfield, and obviously Daulton Varsho is great as well. But it just sucks because I think Kevin Kiermaier is a great person, and I love watching him play baseball on the defensive side, but it makes me sick to my stomach seeing him step into the box there. But it's like you said, he gets put on waivers, and now all of a sudden he's got something to prove. Like, where was that a month ago? It's crazy, and I just wonder if this is it for Kevin Kiermaier now. I wonder if anyone's going to pick him up. Are we going to keep him? I don't know. So.
Yeah, Dal, it's one of those things that you get put on revocable waivers and you start showing some heart. Yeah. My issue is, where was the heart for this entire team? And I am a guy that is hammering down on the heart of this ball club, because I feel like some guys do not show up every day to the ballpark and play their hearts out. I feel like sometimes they don't care. And I know I've gotten slammed in the comments for that before, but it honest to God feels like it, because something like this then happens. You get put on waivers, your job's on the line, and you start playing better. That doesn't seem like a whole lot of heart to me. And again, I don't want to rip on Kevin Kiermaier that much. I think it's a bigger overall scope with this team and this organization than just Kevin Kiermaier. Because yes, I love Kevin Kiermaier as a person as well. I think he's super entertaining, loves the city of Toronto, loves the Canadian fans. So it really hurts me to say some negative things about him. But at the end of the day, I mean, that's why we're here. We're not gonna hold our punches. We're not gonna pull them. We're a podcast for Jays fans. We're fans like you, and we're going to say what we think.
If people want to trash you in the comments, Braden, I'm right there with you. I agree with you on that comment you made. That there's not enough heart sometimes. These guys, it's Johnny Casuals out there. They're just there to be there. They're making money in the big leagues. So they don't care what's going on. So I
Yeah.
hate seeing that.
Yeah. So anyways, my Kevin Kiermaier grade is an F. It's a straight up F. It's the lowest on my card, and it's an F.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. Right there with you with an F. That was good. That was mine as well. Just hasn't been good.
No, it hasn't been. I want to throw it over to our Locked On 24/7 streaming channel. It's on YouTube. It's on the Amazon Fire TV's channels, apps. Go check it out for all your experts analysis. Locked On has amazing people, and they do put in the work. They look at all their players. They look at all their guys. They do previews. It's unbelievable, and it's available anytime for you guys to watch. So check it out. It could be 4 p.m., could be 4 a.m., whatever you want to do. I was watching some last night. I was sick to my stomach in bed last night. Just got some whatever threw on the Locked On channel, lied in bed, and I watched Carolina Panthers. Don't like them. I know Carter does. So I was like, I'll see what's going on. And it was great. It was good content. And I knew a little bit because of Carter, and I feel like I know a little bit more now. So go check that out. We're going to take a quick break, and then we still got a ton of more guys to get into. Today's episode of Locked On Blue Jays is brought to you by Booking.com. With summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you've always secretly wanted to learn more about. Yes, your rival cities. Just like me, I went to New York. It was terrible there, but the trip was nice because Booking.com did such a good job of helping us plan some stuff out. It was great. Watching the Yankees hurt, I got to see the Dodgers beat them, so that was amazing. And watching the Yankees lose at home brings joy to my heart. With hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay, even in your baseball rival cities. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com, on the site, or in the Booking.com app. Today's episode also brought to you by Prize Picks. As Carter talks about all the time, Prize Picks is your place to go for daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. And like other apps on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less than on 2 to 6 players, stat projections, and watch the winnings roll in. Like I said, I took Vlad's over like an idiot in the All-Star game for hits. That didn't go well. But I also took Paul Skeens over strikeouts, which also didn't go well. So don't look to me for help. I am not your guy to pick. Carter does a much better job. He's been winning a ton. So I hope you guys can win a ton as well. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit matchup to $100. That's LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit on Prize Picks for a first deposit matchup to $100. Pick more or pick more, pick less. It's easy on Prize Picks.
Yeah, so just throwing it back to those Kevin Kiermaier stats from last year, he played 129 games and had 370 at-bats. He hit 8 home runs. He had 14 stolen bases, walked 29 times, struck out 86, but he batted .265 and had an on-base percentage of .322. That's his batting average of .265 is the second best he's had in his career, besides when he hit .276 with the Rays in 2017. So he was really productive from that 9-hole spot last year. And I guess just throwing it back to that, I guess it was just what we expected out of him maybe this year as well.
Yeah, and that's sort of the brutal part, I think, with this team is fans expected the guys who played well last year to play good this year. That didn't happen. And that's where, some guys picked it up for sure. Some guys did way better. But some guys just couldn't figure it out. And talking about that, of course, let's talk about one of the men of the hour, Bo Bichette. This is a rough season, to say the least, for Bo Bichette. Played in 78 games, 327 plate appearances, batting at .222, .275 on-base percentage, .321 slugging, .596 OPS. He has 4 home runs on the year with 30 RBI. He has 62 strikeouts, 19 walks, and 5 stolen bases. This is an abysmal year for Bo Bichette, to say the absolute least. Bo Bichette has led the league in hits in 3 years. This year is definitely not one of them. He is playing terribly, and there's not much that I can do personally to back him up. And I like Bo Bichette, but again, talking about heart, talking about love for the city, talking about love for the country you play in, talking about love for your teammates and putting it all out there on the line for them. Bo Bichette does not bring that every night. Even looking back at last season when he was playing well, some days it just felt like he wasn't emotionally invested. And I know, like you said, Dal, people will, probably come after us for saying that, but a lot of these guys need a bit of a kick in the ass, and he's one of them. Bichette, I was debatably giving it an F. I was right there. So I'm really towing the line between a D and an F. But at the end of the day, I did put down a D because I think Bichette can bring it back. I don't think he's completely dead in the water. And we'll see. I don't know if he'll end up here at the end of this year. We're going to have a big discussion about that. But Bichette, I'm giving a D. Dal, I'll throw it over to you. What do you have to think about Bichette?
Yeah, this is a guy who was debatably one of the best hitters in the league, if not the best hitter in the American League. And it's disappointing. I hate watching him swing at a slider 3 feet out of the zone. Like it's crazy. And it's like he's not even seeing the ball. And, this is a guy who's batted over 300 almost every season and an all-star player, and he has not brought it this year. I know he's had some injury trouble, so maybe that's bothering him. And, you see him out there on the field with Don Mattingly on the tee, and it's just not fixing anything for this guy. He can't get anything to go right for him. It's so disappointing to watch. And it's like you said, he looks like he doesn't want to be there at all anymore. And you know what? I think the Jays might part with him at the deadline. And at this point right now, it'd suck to see him go, but given the way he's playing, I wouldn't mind it. We can still get a decent haul for him. I hope. Who knows what Atkins is thinking, but it's just not what we expected, given he was one of the best hitters in the league. So for me, I'm going to give him an F grade.
Give him an F. Yeah.
I'm going to give him an F. I don't like the way he's played, and like I said, the sliders out of the zone is just he's not even close.
Yeah.
On those.
Yeah, no. And that's a tough decision I made too. I wasn't really sure what to do with him. And I hate to say it, but that's probably where this Toronto Blue Jays team is at as well. Is not really sure what to do with Bichette. He's one of those guys that's going to be a main talking point for us on that trade deadline episode. Dal, hopefully we'll get you. We might set up the actual studio and do a big sort of event night for the trade deadline. But we'll see. As always, guys, we will have coverage for you for that trade deadline. We're going to have people on standby. So even if it's not me personally or Carter or Dal, there's Skylar, there's Dal, there's me, there's Carter. We got a couple guys in on it that will be on these, making sure that we get the content out to you guys as quick as possible, the news out to you guys as quick as possible. But in saying that, Dal, we have 4 guys remaining. Let's start with the most up and down player, it seems like. The most you're either all in or you're nowhere to be found, and that is George Springer. George Springer started this season making me never want to watch baseball again. I was at the point where George Springer killed baseball for me entirely. And then me and Carter and Dal and Skylar begged this guy on the podcast every single episode until he finally turned it around. And now we're starting to see the George Springer that we debatably have wanted to see this whole season and maybe even the past couple of years. It's great to see what he's doing now, Dal. I'll go over his quick numbers. 89 games played. He's batting a .225. He has a .310 on base percentage, .366 slugging, an OPS of .676. He has 10 home runs with 34 RBIs, 62 strikeouts, 39 walks, has 9 stolen bases this season, Dal. His base running this season has been so overlooked. He has elite speed, for one, which doesn't get talked about enough. And then his just base running awareness is so good. And the problem is, at the beginning of the season, he wasn't getting on base for us to notice that. Now he is. Now he's doing what George Springer does. And yes, the batting average and everything isn't quite where you want it to be, but it's because the start of the season was so brutal for him. Dal, what do you think about Springer? So, I mean, yeah, I don't need a 10-minute rant from you here, but
yeah,
let's get into it.
If you asked me this 2 months ago, I'd give it an F grade, but I just want to. I'll go over his stats real quick in his last 15 games. So he's got 55 at bats, 17 hits, 2 home runs, 7 walks. He's batting .309. So George Springer has really turned it on. I don't know what happened. Maybe it was John Schneider's comment, probably. But this guy is a fantastic baseball player when he plays his game. Sorry. This is the Springer we wanted. This is the Springer we needed. And when this guy's on, and you can interconnect that with Vladdy and Bo and all those guys, they're winning baseball games. So I would like to see George carry this out, especially the money we're giving him. We need him to keep playing this way, not only for the rest of this season, but the seasons to come. My grade for him, like I said, if you asked me 2 months ago, it'd be an F. I'm going to give him a C right now.
And yeah, that's totally fair. Honestly, that's the exact thought process I had was if we had to do this 2 months ago, I would have burned the paper before I actually put an F on the sheet. But now, yeah, I'm at a C plus. This is the problem though. Is it too little too late? And I think the answer is undoubtedly yes. George Springer is looking great. He's playing better. He's fun to watch. Oh God, is he fun to watch when he plays well. But it's too little too late. And maybe he would have got a higher grade. But at this point in the season, it doesn't matter how good Springer does and how well he turned it on, because this team isn't a playoff team. And sorry to break it to you, this is the first episode you're watching of Toronto Blue Jays coverage, but they're not making the playoffs. So I went with a C plus, Dal. But I was right around the C as well. It was because at the beginning of this season, he was so below what I sort of imagined in my head. And then now he's way above the average I think I had in my head. So I sort of had to average it out and give him a C plus.
Yeah. And for all you guys who are going to say, oh, you guys don't ride with George Springer when he's bad and you're loving him. It's not that. We expected a lot out of him and he was not giving us what we expected and what we should expect from him. That is all. And it's great to see him doing well now. I love George Springer as a player. Of course, I'm going to give him a hard time if he's not playing well. That's like every Blue Jays player. But it's just what we expected from him, and he didn't meet it, but now he's playing good baseball.
Yeah, and like we said, we're not here. A lot of these players we like a ton. We're fans of all these guys. It's why we watch this team. The difference is George Springer was so bad that it was hard not to say anything. I'm not going to go out here and spit that I think George Springer was going to make a comeback this season. I'll hand to God, I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought it was done. Good on him. He proved everybody wrong, and I think most of the media in Toronto. But for ourselves, we're fans. We ride with this team. When we watch every single game and we see George Springer swing and miss at a high fastball for the 90th time in a row, it hurts our soul a little bit.
Yeah.
In saying that, I want to save one guy till the very end because I think he deserves so much props that he necessarily doesn't get. Let's go to Danny Jansen right now, Dal. This is a guy that, again, is so hot and so cold, and it is painful sometimes to see the back and forth. Danny Jansen has played 57 games this year, 212 plate appearances, 223 average, 316 on base percentage, 391 slugging, a 707 OPS. He has 6 home runs this season with 17 RBI, 37 strikeouts, 24 walks. Danny Jansen, to me, Carter gave me grief on this. I don't think Danny Jansen is very great behind the dish. I think his bat carries him when his bat isn't on. I don't think Danny Jansen is the best player of all time. And I hate to say this because I hate talking about injuries and bagging on guys for injuries, but this guy is made of glass. He's been injured so many times. But at the end of the day, I do love Danny because when his bat's on, he's electric. He's absolutely unbelievable to watch. He's so much fun. I love riding with him when he is hot. Danny, I gave a D. I think he started out when he came back from injury so good. He was unbelievable, but sort of dropped off. And I sort of expected more to Danny, and maybe that's just a false hope again for me. And maybe D's an unfair grade. Maybe it should be like a C minus because I don't think he's been horrible. But for me, after giving away Moreno, after Kirk having a great season, after, them Kirk and Danny sort of struggling to find their, who is going to be, I think we all knew Danny was going to be number one, but in the sense of who is going to hit better, who's going to do it, all this, Danny's just a guy that's just so hot and cold. And I can't stress that enough. The hot and cold aspect of Danny Jansen, I think, is not his friend.
Yeah. You want to go back to when he first came back. He was great. He was what we needed at the time. Brian Servin just wasn't cutting it. So he was a bright spot in the lineup for us when he came back. And, this is a guy now who's got 3 home runs in his last 30 days with 6 RBIs. It's like, this is a guy that should be hitting 20 home runs for you. it's just gone downhill. I don't know if you want to say the last month and a half. It just hasn't been good for him. Like you said, he's made of glass. He's got that thing on his wrist. It's so hot and cold with him. Exactly what you said. It's my opinion too. But he's a guy too, I think, that is a huge piece for the Jays at this deadline. I think they could move him to a contending team and get a pretty good haul back for him. Still, given the way he's played lately, but for me, I'll give him a C-. I don't think he's been totally awful, but he hasn't been great.
Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe I was a little bit off with the D. I sort of wrote this up beforehand. I don't necessarily. I look back at that and I don't love that. I like the C- grade that you gave him, but I sort of, yeah, I'm gonna rock with the D still. I don't think Danny's been quite what this team's needed. We're going to be covering Danny during the trade deadline episodes. It's going to be a huge sort of maybe 2-day thing that we're going to put out for you guys. So make sure you tune into that because we're going down. We're going to break down where they could possibly go, what's the likelihood, the direction of this team, everything. Dal, we got 2 guys left. I'm not even sure if you gave this guy a grading or not because honestly, he just hasn't played a ton, and that's Leo Jimenez. I just haven't. You know what? I was debatably not going to put him in here, so maybe I'll go over his stats, and maybe we don't even give him a grade. I don't think it's enough to really base anything on.
Well, let's talk. We could talk about him.
Yeah, we can give him some.
Yeah,
give him some airtime. All right, he's played in 8 games, 27 plate appearances. He is batting a .364 with an on-base percentage of .481. He has a slugging of .455, a OPS of .936. No home runs, obviously, but then he's got 1 RBI, 6 strikeouts, 3 walks, no stolen bases or nothing like that. But he's a guy that I didn't necessarily believe that we were going to see this season. He's a guy that I had my eye on playing through the franchise modes on MLB The Show. He's a guy that would always get the little "Do you want to call him up?" bar, and then they would,
yeah, he's there, yeah,
yeah. So I'd always bring up Leo Jimenez. So a fun guy when he was fun to see brought up because he's a guy that I've been very versed in just throughout playing the game. So that was very cool for me to see. I think he's doing really well. I can't remember. I guess it was the last game to finish off the Diamondbacks. He made 2 catches in the 9th inning. The 1 diving catch that he got a bad jump on, probably shouldn't have had to dive for that ball because of the bad jump, but he made a great play to get it done anyway. And then the catch against Lourdes at the wall, I believe, as well. So it was really fun to see him do well. Great batting average. If I was to give him a grade, honestly, I think it would be sort of crazy to not give him like an A so far this season because I expected absolutely nothing from him. So he could have like an A or A+, I guess, if you want to go down that road.
Yeah, it's been great to see. It's especially nice to see given the situation with Elvis Martinez. So it's good to see we have another good young middle infielder in the organization, and it's even better to see he's playing well right now. This is what this team needs, is maybe a little bit of a younger shift, and I think he's one of those guys that they could look forward to down the road for sure. Yeah, do I think he's going to stay in the big leagues after the deadline? Probably not. But I love watching him play right now. It's great, and I'm going to give him B+.
Yeah, I like that. I don't think that it's hard. I mean, it's hard to give this guy a grade or anything like that because we really have not seen anything. But he is a fun guy to watch play. Dal, the last guy that we have, who I saved till the very end, who I think is desperately underrated. The stats necessarily don't back him up on the offensive side of the ball, but the defensive side of the ball, he is the best outfielder in the game right now. And that's Daulton Varsho, without a question. He is above and beyond everybody else in the entirety of the MLB defensively in the outfield. He is unbelievable. But in saying that, I got to preface that with his statistics offensively this season. 88 games played, 327 plate appearances, a batting only at .202 with a on-base percentage of .285. He's got a slugging of .408, an OPS of .693. He has 11 home runs this season with 38 RBIs. He's got 90 strikeouts, which is brutal to see, 32 walks, 9 stolen bases as well. He's been caught stealing twice. But Daulton Varsho, I don't know why he's different for me than some of these other guys. But when Daulton Varsho plays that good defensively, I absolutely love it. I think it's unbelievably electric. And he was a huge part of this team going forward. He might have been one of the guys that only had a heartbeat this at the beginning. Obviously, he led the team in the home runs throughout the first little bit. Was great offensively. He's fallen off majorly now, sadly. But I love Daulton Varsho. I think he's been unbelievable. I know Carter loves Daulton Varsho still as well. Dal, where do you stand with Daulton Varsho?
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with you on the defensive side of the ball. He's been spectacular to watch. Some of the plays he makes are crazy. Like that one diving catch, and then he threw the guy out at second the other day there. That was unreal. For me, I do like Varsho, but I would want more out of him. Maybe the batting average doesn't reflect his bat, but I think you just got to hit better for me. Yeah. I love the grand slams and everything, but I want to see more singles, stuff like that. I'll take the grand slams, but this is a guy with speed. Let's get him on the base, maybe take some more walks. I just think he can do better on the bats for me. For me, I'm going to give him probably a B-.
A B-. Okay, you actually had him higher than I did.
Yeah,
I had him at a C+. I 100% agree with you.
Given just like grand slams, and he's been big. He had his moment in the start of the year. He's fallen off just like Danny Jansen. Obviously, he was better than Danny Jansen at the start of the year, but he's fallen off now. So I'll give him a B-. Yeah.
You know what? I don't hate that either. He's so good defensively, and it's hard to take anything away from him because he is so dynamic in the outfield. The problem is the bat. The bat is underwhelming. Yes, he's had big moments, and maybe that's a little contradictory because David Schneider, same thing. I gave David Schneider a C-, and he's been good defensively as well. Not obviously nowhere close to Daulton Varsho, but batting is fairly similar, to be honest. The bats are very, very similar. But in saying that, Daulton Varsho was so good at the beginning of the year, but then wow, what a complete fall off from him now. Yeah, Dal, that's the whole lineup. I mean, that was a crazy long episode, and I maybe didn't have Carter here to stop me from yapping, but it happens. You know what, Dal, I really appreciate you coming on today because it was, would have been me sitting here yapping at the screen for 50 minutes by myself, and that wouldn't have been a ton of fun.
Yeah. I enjoy coming on, so whenever you need, I'm here.
Yeah, and we're going to have you on a ton more. We got the trade deadline coming up, so we're going to do that big episode as promised because, we wanted to take some time. We wanted to get our thoughts involved. We got to pick a date yet to do that, Dal, but I'll message you afterwards about that. But yeah, other than that, guys, make sure you check out the Locked On 24/7 streaming channel as well on YouTube and on the Amazon Fire TV channels app. Ton of experts. It is unbelievable content. Like I said, I checked out the Panthers one last night. And I'm probably going to turn it on today, and I'll let you guys know what team I'm sort of following. I've been really wanting to get into some college football here with the new game that just came out. So I might try to turn on some of those and see what's going on. Again, thank you guys for watching. Thanks, Dal, for being a part of the show as always. And drop a subscription if you're still around at 53 minutes or whatever what time we're at. And just be ready. We got a ton more content for you guys. Leave comments down below of any questions you guys have for me and Carter in the next coming episodes, and we'll make sure to answer those, guys. Otherwise, have a good Thursday, everybody. Baseball's back Friday. Let's go.